Closing arguments are set to begin this week in the hate crime trial of Gregory and Travis McMichael and William Bryan. The three men chose not to testify in their defense this week. They were already found guilty of killing Ahmaud Arbery while he was jogging in Georgia and sentenced to life in prison. That shooting happened 1 year ago this Wednesday. For more on this, we'll bring in now criminal defense attorney and legal analyst Lou Shapiro. Lou, thank you for joining us again. Texts and social media messages from two of the men were brought up in this case. Now, the state avoided discussion of race previously, but the federal hate crimes trial is clearly focusing on race. What do you see happening this week?
I think the defense and prosecution, for that matter, see this whole case as a foregone conclusion. Deals were tried to be made early on to avoid this, but there were a lot of underlying issues that prevented that from happening, so the trial just had to go on. And here we are facing an inevitable, I think, result. I don't think there's really any direction for the defense to go on this one, so they're just going to ride this all the way home, and the jury will do its job.
Yeah, so we'll keep an eye on that, which is, again, happening this week, those closing arguments. Meanwhile, though, on Friday, a judge handed down a 2-year sentence to Kim Potter for killing Daunte Wright. The former Minnesota police officer said she mistook her gun for a taser during a traffic stop last April. Potter now must serve 16 months in prison. The judge argued Potter was only doing her job when she made a tragic mistake. Wright's mother, though, said afterwards that the justice system murdered her son all over again with this. So, Lou, in your opinion and your expertise, was this a fair sentencing? Was this to be expected?
It's a great question. I think any sentencing judge would have been very conflicted in how to handle this situation. On one hand, we have the death of a 20-year-old person, and then on the other hand, you have an officer who has no record, no issues in her past, made the biggest mistake of her life, and unintentional. So what is the right result here? And the judge went with the more lenient result than the more punitive one in the end, probably because the victim in this case was resisting arrest, did sort of contribute to the overall incident which led to this tragedy. And I think based on that and the way the remorse and regret that was demonstrated by the defendant at trial, that called for a more lenient sentence in this judge's opinion.
Yeah, a lot of factors led into that. Okay, now one more case happening. Remember when Alec Baldwin told ABC's George Stephanopoulos in December that he did not pull the trigger on the set of the film Rust? Well, the film's cinematographer was killed and the director injured when a gun that Baldwin was allegedly holding went off. The Santa Fe district attorney tells Vanity Fair that Baldwin may not have actually pulled the trigger. In fact, she says that the gun can be handled in a way where the gun does not lock and the firing pin can still hit the bullet. All right, so Lou, this is of course rather confusing and detail-oriented, but what does this all mean for Alec Baldwin's legal defense?
So basically, to simplify this, what the DA and even Baldwin's camp are saying is that it didn't take as much as maybe most people think for the incident to happen. But at the same time, the statement by the DA can't be viewed in a vacuum, because at the end of the day, I think everybody will agree that this was a recklessly dangerous situation, that negligence was involved. Whether or not the actual trigger was pulled or not, big mistakes were made led to the death of somebody, and someone or some people are going to have to pay that price. So I think there's a lot more to be coming on this. I think charges will be filed, if not on one person, on several people. But let's not make any mistake. Just because of that one statement does not preclude prosecution in this case on Baldwin or anyone else involved on the set.
Yeah, as you said, negligence surely was involved there. All right, thank you so much for joining us once again, Lou Shapiro.
You got it.
Coming up, cases and hospitalization.